Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Before the global superstardom, before the World Cup trophies, and way before millions of us passionately debated his status as the absolute greatest of all time, there was just a little boy from Rosario, Argentina, with a football at his feet. Today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating early chapters of Lionel Messi's life. This is a deeply human journey. We're going from immense struggle to incredible glory, uncovering the story of a quiet kid who literally changed the sport of football forever. Now, it begs a massive question, right? How exactly did a small boy from a steel town overcome a devastating medical diagnosis to become the greatest footballer in history? Honestly, it sounds exactly like a Hollywood movie script. But no, this is a completely real story. We're going to break down exactly how an impossible dream was kept alive against terrifying odds. Because if you want to truly understand the man who dances through professional defenses today, you absolutely have to understand the boy who simply refused to give up yesterday. Let's move to and see how this builds. The story starts in 1987 in Rosario, Argentina. And look, this isn't just any city. It's a place where football is essentially a religion. It's a fundamental way of life, where kids grow up dreaming in the famous blue and white. By the time he was just 5 years old, he was already lacing up his tiny boots for his local club, Grandoli. And later on, he'd graduate to the highly prestigious Newell's Old Boys Academy. But rapid early progression like that doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It requires a really solid foundation. And for Messi, that was his absolutely incredible support system. His family didn't have immense financial wealth. His father, Jorge, worked hard in a steel factory, yet still managed to coach a local football team in his spare time. His mother, Celia, was incredibly hardworking and the ultimate source of daily encouragement for Lionel, right alongside his siblings, Rodrigo, Matias, and Maria Sol. It's actually a really powerful reminder that elite greatness often starts not with immense resources, but with an unshakable foundation of love and unity. That humble, tight-knit background, that's exactly what forged the quiet, incredibly determined character we all know Messi for today. For young Lionel, football wasn't just a game. It really became his language. From the absolute moment he could walk, he was hopelessly fascinated by the sport. He literally slept with a football beside his bed. He carried it to the store, out to the streets, around the house, basically everywhere. For a quiet kid who didn't always speak up with words, well, kicking and dribbling was how he expressed his joy, his creativity, and his biggest dreams. The football was his ultimate voice. And there was one person who championed that voice louder than anyone else, his beloved grandmother, Celia. She was always there, cheering, encouraging, believing in him. Actually, it was Celia who insisted to the local coaches that this tiny 5-year-old should be put on the pitch to play in the first place. Without her unwavering belief, his whole journey might never have even started. And here's a beautiful takeaway to remember for the next time you watch him play. Whenever you see Lionel Messi score a goal today, and he celebrates by pointing both index fingers up to the sky, that is a direct, intimate, lifelong tribute to his grandmother, who passed away when he was still young. Now, because he was significantly smaller than the other kids on the pitch, brute physical strength simply wasn't an option for him. So what did he do? He adapted. He relied on supreme balance, lightning-fast thinking, incredibly quick feet, and just absolute perfect ball control. He was literally weaving through older, bigger children with total ease, and this brilliantly illustrates how constraints breed innovation. His physical disadvantage is exactly what forced him to develop this magical brain-over-brawn playstyle that completely baffled anyone trying to stop him. That unique, gravity-defying style made him an absolute standout, earning him the title of the Newell's Old Boys Prodigy. Newell's is one of Argentina's most respected and competitive youth academies, and man, it was here that his skills just skyrocketed. He was scoring goal after goal, making his youth team famous across the whole region for winning match after match. People were showing up to games specifically just to watch this tiny boy with magical feet. Coaches and fans were already whispering comparisons to the legendary Diego Maradona. But Lionel, he wasn't distracted by the sudden fame or those glowing comparisons. He just wanted to be out on the grass playing. But natural talent only gets you noticed, right? A legacy is built in the shadows. While other kids got tired and went home to rest, Lionel stayed. He was out there alone in the rain or out as the sun went down. He endlessly refined the absolute basics of dribbling, passing, and ball control until they were pure muscle memory. He turned every single mistake into fuel to get stronger. It's that invisible, unglamorous work required for true mastery in literally any field. He was putting in those massive hours of hard work that the cheering crowds never actually saw. And all of this relentless, obsessive practice was fueled by dreams bigger than reality.
At night, young Lionel would sit in front of the television, completely captivated by professional football matches. He would intensely watch Argentina's greatest players, closing his eyes and imagining the deafening roar of a packed stadium. His ultimate dream was to one day wear that iconic blue and white Argentina national team jersey. For most kids, a dream like that is just a fun fantasy. But for Lionel, it wasn't just a dream. It became a solemn, unbreakable promise to himself. But life can change without warning. Everything seemed perfectly aligned for this wildly talented young footballer. He had the deeply loving family, the unmatched work ethic, the incredibly bright future. But as Lionel grew a little older, his parents began to notice something highly unusual. He wasn't physically growing like the other children his age. At first, they just hoped he was a late bloomer, that it was nothing serious at all. But the physical gap between him and his peers just kept widening, eventually leading them to seek medical answers. And the diagnosis was absolutely devastating: growth hormone deficiency. This was a severe medical condition that essentially halted his physical growth. So the crucial point is, this wasn't just a sports injury. This threatened his overall health, and it cast a massive, seemingly insurmountable shadow over his entire football dream. To make matters worse, the medical treatments required were astronomically expensive, way beyond what a humble steelworker's family could comfortably afford. The little boy who had spent every waking moment of his life chasing a football was now facing the ultimate devastating roadblock. Which leaves us with a monumental question. Could this tiny boy overcome a disease that seemed scientifically and financially impossible for his family to beat? Would they somehow find a way to fund his expensive treatments and save his dream? Or would the world lose one of the greatest footballers in history before his journey had truly even begun? Just think about what it takes to face that kind of overwhelming adversity at such a young, vulnerable age. That brings us to the end of today's explainer, but the story of how he overcomes this impossible hurdle is one you definitely want to explore next. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always,